Are we live?
Yes, we are. We are live. I was waiting to see if anybody was going to come in with something crazy before I even started my intro. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the. There it goes. That was it. That was it. That's as far as we got before I got just mungled off of my stuff. I'm Omar Krieg. I don't know what's going on. This is Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader Tithes of Acheron Segmentum 2 of Scepters and Crowns, or of Crowns and Scepters, because I can't remember what the title of my own crap is. But this is episode 5 of that. Oh, it is of Crowns and Scepters, alphabetical order. I have to remember that. With me, of course, are my wonderful Grimdark players, Alterios, Warner, Darius, and Rev. Let's take a moment to check in with them. Before we do that, I do want to apologize one final time for the abrupt end to our last session. Unfortunately, one of our players, Rev, whose name shall remain anonymous, ran into some technical issues that appear to have been resolved, although we're still dealing with some of those technical issues. However, in our defense, because we need one when it's Rev, it's mostly Rev just being Rev. At any rate, Rev, why don't you tell us what's new and exciting for you over the last week or so? Well, I totally don't play with my phone.
My computer having a catastrophic hard drive failure on my primary operating system drive is not exactly a Rev thing per se. That issue has been resolved to some degree.
Oh, good.
Omar, and speaking of pressing buttons, Omar, did you get your taxes filed?
I did.
Good.
And I did. And I got a tax return. And guess where
Nice.
all of that money is going to go?
You're gonna buy me a new PC?
No. And it's not going to AI either, because I thought I heard somebody say it.
No, I said gaming.
No, I wish it could, but that refund, whether I have a choice or not, and to be totally honest, I don't think I do. But even if I do have the choice, all of that money is going into what I still owe our Lord and Savior and nope, that's wrong. Our Lord and Master and Commander of everything Americana. I'm not talking about anybody wearing any particular hairpieces. I'm talking about the IRS. Let's be real here.
Oh, so back taxes, huh?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There are, like, I'm still, not to put all of my business out there, but there are several thousands, actually, 2 times several thousands of dollars in back taxes that are owed because I don't make enough to pay taxes. That sounded weird the way it came out and the way taxes work, but when you don't get child tax credits or whatever that is that I got from my kid, if you don't make enough money and have enough money left over from your bills and other expenses to set money aside, it's really fucking hard to pay your taxes.
So you're self-employed?
I am not.
Then the company you work for should be setting taxes back for you.
They are. Tax withholding and all that other stuff, like everything that happens normally does happen. It's just that at the end of the year when I do my tax return, I don't get any credits or refund, like any of the uh, deductions, because I don't have any kids I can claim legally or by agreements and whatnot.
Not to drag this out any further, Omar. Message me after the game. I think you've done something wrong on your taxes. Let me get you in touch with somebody with a tax professional, and they can say, yeah, you shouldn't. I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be paying anything. I'm pretty sure you should just be getting money back. So unless you owe taxes from previous years,
I do. So
okay.
The short version is this: I owe for the last several years because in those last several years I did not get my children tax credit deduction, those things, right? And because the amount of money I was supposed to pay based on what the government says I owe every year, it wasn't being taken out of my paycheck. At the end, when I'm due my tax returns, they're like, "Hey, you haven't paid enough."
I don't know, man. Like knowing the average salary of what I believe your job is, I still think something's wrong. So we can talk about that after the stream.
Yeah, I think at some point I may have input the incorrect numbers on W4, but
right. But if you owe back, it's my understanding, and like I said, I'm not the tax professional in my family. But
correct.
if you owe back taxes, and depending on how many years back it was, and it was a mistake, and you don't actually owe that, you can file amended returns. So there's a chance you might be able to file amended returns and not owe that.
Correct. There are a few things I could look into if I had the time, gumption, etc. The other thing is, and this is a personal pet peeve of mine, because every however many periods of time come and go that I'm not paying those taxes, not only is there an interest fee,
Right.
but a "you didn't pay this shit, asshole" penalty. And that just stacks on top, and it's just like I can't get out from under this.
Yeah. I think if
that
not
really irritated me when I saw that the last
if
message
not,
I got.
if not somebody in my family, then you do need to talk to somebody, I think. But consults is, last time I checked, consults are free.
Correct. They usually are. But yeah, the short version is I got my taxes done, Rev, to answer your question, and I got a return for the first time in forever. But there's a lot of money that I still owe from previous years because I just have not been able to pay it. I've been putting money towards it. Don't misunderstand me. Like, I've been putting money towards what is owed. It's just I'm never gonna get ahead effectively.
Is any of it before 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
Like 2019 and 2020, I think. There's like a year or two in there.
Well, like I said, I feel like your situation could be improved. So either you could send me some information, or I could send you some information, but we can see if we can't help you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So what else is new and exciting for you besides computers and taxes?
Well, taxes has been a big thing.
Yes.
Members of my family have been working 7 days a week up until today. And so I have been trying to supply people with sugar and caffeine and protein in order to but anyway, the only other thing I've got to say is going and dealing with all the food, messing with the meat, it can be really messy. A butcher has a messy job, but the guy who sells vegetables, he's grocer.
Right. Darius, if you're there, you may or may not.
I'm here.
Okay. I couldn't tell because normally your camera's on and it's not at the moment, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I was away from the computer, but I've got my headset.
No worries. What's new and exciting for you, my friend?
I am really looking forward to Anthro, Ohio.
Is that this weekend or next weekend?
This weekend. I start tomorrow.
Nice. Well, best of luck with all of the things, and may it be a wonderful experience.
Yep, just preparing for it's a little stressful.
What exactly is it? Because the name implies it's a furry convention. At least that's what I think when I hear it.
It is a furry convention.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was a gaming convention, but I've been wrong before.
No.
Don't let this fool you.
No, what it is it's a furry convention that has contracted with Pons' Game Bag, a traveling game library, to run their tabletop game room.
Ah.
So we bring all of our 600 plus games on carts and set up a store and a library in the tabletop game room.
Gotcha. And you just happen to be setting up at a furry convention.
Yes.
Are you planning on going in costume?
No.
Okay.
I don't think that's his cup of tea.
I do not have a furry costume.
Aw.
As furry as I am.
That is his fur.
If you had a persona, what would it be?
A feathered lizard king.
No.
Going back to conversations before going live.
Quick, Darius, what's your favorite clan?
Clan?
Battletech.
Oh.
Because they're all
because they're all furries. Yep. Okay, I got you.
That's Critter Tech, yo.
I was referencing dinosaurs, but
yeah, there were some people wondering why there was a suspicious number of furries in the clan community. It's like,
well, as it turns out. Alterios, what you got new, man?
Nothing. It's been a slow
All right,
week.
we'll move on. No, I'm just kidding.
Do it.
No, please, the floor is yours. You can at least take 20 or 30 seconds and say something. Listen, I spent most of the time I've been on the Zoom call ranting about one thing or another, so I feel like it's only fair that you get at least a few seconds to say something.
Did you file your taxes, Alterius?
No, because I didn't make anything.
Ew. That's bad. Well, you're a student though,
No,
aren't you?
I'm yeah, and I'm
Okay.
living off of what I made like 3 years prior. So
Okay, yeah. That is not unreasonable.
so
All right. Well, lucky for you, you don't have to worry about taxes for a little bit yet, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. Warner,
Hi.
you are indeed taxable.
I am indeed taxable.
But beyond that, what's new and exciting for you, my friend?
Well, had a going away lunch for a friend and coworker. He is accepting a new position, so
I
I bought
believe you
him a
mentioned this previously, didn't you?
nice bottle of whiskey,
I don't
and
remember this, but
we had a big ol' lunch
That's awesome. That's
at
awesome.
which I ate some of the best fish and chips in the area.
I believe what had been mentioned previously was, and I may be wrong, and I may be misremembering, or I may be getting something else totally tied into this that has nothing to do with us. But what I vaguely recall was you had mentioning something about somebody leaving your work group, and everybody else was like, I don't know how to do things without that person.
Oh,
Does that ring any sort of bells whatsoever? Because I may be
that's
exaggerating a little bit for
that was
humor. But...
my supervisor is taking some time off.
Okay. So that's two separate entities, not
Yep,
so
two
much.
separate things.
Okay, got you. Gotcha. Okay, my bad. I apologize for misleading anybody.
It's cool.
That was
how
misled. There.
dare you?
I mean, listen. If you think this is the first or the last time I've been wrong in my life, oh boy.
He dared to
Ooh,
kill
boy.
a scare in the king's forest.
Oh boy, is there a story to be told here? Anyway, you got anything else, Warner?
That is it.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you had some amazing food and festivities and hangout time with coworkers. That's awesome. It's always a nice feeling when people get together and they recognize what other people have done for the organization or agency, and then as one is leaving. Because let me tell you, when you leave somewhere and they're like, you barely get a, all right, good luck, and you're just like, motherfucker, I spent so many years in sweat and blood and tears and blah blah blah. I'm like, and I get a gold watch. Thanks, assholes. At any rate, that was no particular soapbox. That was just a hypothetical soapbox. Let me pull up my notes and see what we're doing tonight. I mean, we're doing Rogue Trader, but let's see. Previously on Tithes of Acheron of Scepters. See, I don't even have my damn title straight in my own notes. Because in one place it's of Crowns and Scepters, and in another it's of Scepters and Crowns. So let me fix that really quick. Because I usually just copy and paste from one Word doc to the next. There we go. Let me save it. Alright, previously on Tithes of Acheron of Crowns and Scepters, the Acheron's Ferry and crew have returned. I feel like I've read this particular stretch so many times, so I'm just gonna freaking free... Ooh, that's not a good word to use. I'm going to just freedom fly this one.
I'm free.
Freedom flying.
Previously on our Rogue Trader show, we left Repton 4 after deciding that, well, there's not much really going on here, so screw this place. And we went to Acheron, which was pretty much our next major waypoint anyway, because previously any communication with that system had been lost, and that system's communication network was kind of crucial for the Van Breeze domain because it tied the domain in with the rest of the Greater Imperium via Footfall. And now it's quiet and things are weird. And we had just barely arrived at a station. Let me pull up my notes and see if I have notes on that station itself. Let's see. Arriving at Acheron, we determined that the station was in a precariously low orbit. Perturbations, I think I said that right, but I probably didn't, and other orbital problems have caused it to slowly degrade over time. Normally, these degradations in the orbital dynamics would be corrected, but they have not been for some time, and it will not be long before the station falls into the atmosphere unless somebody does something about it. The station has a generic Y-shape structure around a what could be considered a football-shaped central core. That central core, of course, is the Astropathic Choir, their support barracks, etc., as well as where the primary power production, waste management, and the orbital control infrastructure is established. And then each of those three wings has a separate purpose. One is used to receive guests of note, such as the rogue trader or other important personae, and the docking port and reception chambers relating to that. A second section is a service port where supply vessels and other infrastructure-based sorts of things would be taking place. This is so it's like the everybody use, portion. And then finally, the third section was used to serve as the administrative and command and control for the station proper, and it also contained the administratum, the admech command centers, and security details, as well as the local small marine contingent barracks. However, as you approach the station, it has been stupid quiet the entire way in. Nobody has hailed you. Nobody has returned any hails that you have sent. And as you got closer, Alterios, and I believe with a little bit of assistance perhaps from Jace, I don't remember, but that was when you had determined that the station was slowly sinking into the upper atmosphere of Acheron Prime, or whatever I named the primary world, because I believe this is actually the only world around this star. Let me see. Acheron is the only planet in the primary biosphere, as there is nothing in the system's outer reaches, and in the inner reaches, it is just asteroid clusters or dust clouds. So this is the only planet. And it is an icy world with trapped water. So mostly frozen. But we're not here for the planet, we're here for the station. It was at about that point that Rev's computer started getting really wonky. And so we wrapped early to make sure that he could handle that before anything crazy happened. We have not yet set foot on the station. I believe we were considering options about approaching and arriving at the station. There was talk about flinging a bunch of chains around the station to pull it up into a higher orbit, but that, I'm going to tell you, is not necessary. You just need to get somebody onto the station and into the command and control rooms and be like, oh, just change the perigee and the apogee and we'll be fine.
How large is the station compared to the ship?
To be honest, I never really thought about dimensions. So the station, the way I do envision it is the station would, let me rephrase that part too. The ship would not necessarily dock directly to the station. It would kind of float nearby, and then you would send shuttles over, and the shuttles would land on effectively outstretched arms.
I more meant, the ship, our ship is the size of flying skyscrapers. So,
I feel like the station would be, I never really gave much thought to the dimensions, just kind of the overall shape and structure. I think the football-shaped core is probably kind of large and grandiose, but maybe not really much more than a few hundred meters from top to bottom. And the individual Y section spokes are probably only a few hundred meters long as well, jutting out from the center.
So essentially, what would essentially be like the reception area and an astropathic choir area from our ship, but with, and a cargo hold, but not the rest of the ship. So it would be smaller than our ship, if I'm understanding
Probably,
correctly.
yeah. Like it's really only about the size it needs to be. There's no extra it's not football. It's like it's not this gigantic fucking city floating in space.
Right. With a station like this, we might need to perform a slingshot maneuver.
Ooh.
I'm not sure what you're slingshotting and what the necessity of said maneuvers might be, but
Gravimetric, using the gravity well to accelerate.
I mean, I might be implying a little too much of the real world,
Omar,
but if you just point the station in a particular direction and burn
Omar,
for a little bit, the orbit will change.
Oh, Omar!
Yes!
Close your eyes and picture the shape of the station you described.
Okay. Yeah.
We need to perform a slingshot maneuver. It's shaped like a slingshot.
No. Not the way I'm envisioning it.
Okay.
So take a football, and you know when you spike it, right?
Yes, but you described
Yes.
a Y shape coming off of that.
Yes, I did. Imagine the football core, and then 3 spokes coming off of that in a vaguely Y-shaped formation. Not a separate. You know what? Envision however you want. I'm done explaining it. Just what do you want to do? The station's slowly sinking into the atmosphere. You've got about 8 or 12 hours to do something. Nobody's talking to you. Just do something, man.
Quick, string some giant rubber bands and a leather thong between the.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, you could just watch it for 12 hours and watch fireworks.
Did anyone bring the space marshmallows?
Oh my god. You know there's supposed to be people on the station, right?
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be. It's clear that if there are, they don't know how to turn a few buttons and maybe flip a few switches because the station's sinking into the atmosphere.
Fair enough.
I've played this game before. I know what alien isolation is.
The people can be replaced, but the station's worth more than that.
It probably, I mean, considering the point of this station, yeah. Here is our phone line. Here's our internet line. Our physical Ethernet cable from home to the rest of the city, and you're just gonna let the connection drop into the fucking water. Okay.
It's more like a spotty Wi-Fi connection, if I'm being honest.
I mean, it is astropathic, so yeah. What do you want to do? You've got 3 entry points.
Look, this is what happens when you order a Wi-Fi extender off Timo.
That's yeah.
What is Winter's perspective on the situation? What is she sensing?
Nothing.
Not even from the choir?
Not even from the choir, especially the choir.
There's
not even good. The astropathic version of a carrier signal being transmitted. It is just dead.
Well, that sounds like everyone's been wiped out, so
yep.
Try to wrap some chains around it as a failsafe in case we can't get to the bridge to stabilize the atmosphere. Seneschal, in the meantime, we're taking a boarding party with some extra soldiers just to watch our backs.
Very well, Lord Captain. You shall man the helm and observe from afar, as we always do. He's not salty about this at all.
Well, I've just told him to use boarding chains on the station in order to correct its orbit. He is not watching from afar.
Oh, he says, Lord Captain, perhaps we have some time, it seems. Perhaps we should hold off on Operation Anchor Chain until you determine that you cannot correct the station's orbit from within the station itself. I personally think, this is me speaking, not him. I personally think trying to wrap chains around the station in space is a dumb idea. I think you're bound to do more damage than you are good. But that could be me. I don't know how it works in Warhammer. I know there's chains fucking everywhere in Warhammer 40K.
Well, all we have to do is set the orcs to doing the chains.
No, you don't want orcs doing anything.
If they believe that the chains will not affect the station in a negative manner,
you have your logic is sound. It's the application of said logic that fails outright, right off the bat. Because you're assuming the orcs will believe anything you tell them. They're just gonna see you and be like, "Oh, it's on." I can't do a Courtney accent right now for that. They're just gonna want to beat the shit out of you.
Well, if using chains for boarding actions is not an effective way to take a object and pull it towards you and or stabilize its orbit, then the whole idea of using chains for boarding actions, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a staple of the Imperial Navy, is right out the window.
Don't they use boarding torpedoes or things of that nature more so than
they do that as well?
I could be wrong. I'm not the most
I could have swore that chains were involved, but maybe that's an Eldari thing.
It could be.
Sorry, Drukhari thing.
I think the big, well, there's the Eldar and the Drukhari.
Well, I clarified Drukhari. Chains are definitely a Drukari thing for sure.
That I could definitely see that in more than one way. Slanesh thirsts, my friends. I think the biggest thing that is pointing out is just trying to get chains onto the station is inevitably going to cause damage to structural points, structural hard points, the superstructure of the hull, things of that nature. That if they were to do that, it would be better to do it as a fail-safe plan as opposed to the primary plan. And
I
you did
thought
get
that's what he just said.
I thought he did too, but he seems like he's leading off with this. I will point out also that you are picking up power in a, let's call it a power saving mode. So things are like asleep as far as, computers and shit like that. But
Well, everyone being dead is the most disconcerting part to me.
sure,
Yeah.
it appears that the astropaths, like, Winter's not getting anything astropathically. There's nobody talking to you. Your power readouts that the power signatures that you're reading on your ship's computers and whatnot for sensors is that there is power there. It's in a low power mode, like everything's just been basically put in standby or it's not been left on.
Right. Well, the only positive I'm saying here is that orcs would have wrecked everything and it would be obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eldar probably wouldn't have cared. We're probably looking at either pirates or another human faction because Chaos would have wrecked everything as well. They would not have put everything in a power saving mode and then just let it crash.
Yeah, if anything, they would have knocked it in the surface of the planet on their own.
Yeah.
I'm more picture Chaos flinging it toward the sun.
I mean, I
The
suppose
surface of the sun?
With everyone still alive.
with everyone
initially.
still, yeah. But yeah,
but it
so
could
you've got there's the two main ports.
Alpha Legion is sneaky enough to leave it alone and then try and sneak on board a ship.
So there are two main entry points, one being basically the upper class entry, and then the other one being the lower class entry.
If Alpha Legion's on there, we've got bigger problems than just Chaos Cultists.
Does 40K, do they have like life signs like Star Trek does?
I think
Psychers
can't Psychers
tell,
basically
yeah.
just life sense basically?
Yeah,
Well,
they can.
I
to
have
a
seen.
point.
I know it's not full canon, but I have seen images in video games where like they are tracking
Like a heat map sort of deal.
heat map or orange dots in the map of a station, so they have some way of distinguishing from life and inanimate.
All right. Well, you're not getting any of that either. As far as like any sensor returns, as far indicating living organisms.
Well, that rules out Nurgle. Let's go ahead and see what's on the station.
All right. Which entry point are you using? Yeah, are you going upper class or lower class? Are you taking the VIP section, or are you gonna slum it down with everybody?
If it's humans, and if this is a trap for me, they would be set up at the VIP entrance. So we are going to the cargo entrance.
Okay. Let's see what that entrance route says, because I don't remember all my own notes. I wrote this like
What if
2 or
they
3
know
weeks
you know?
What if they know you know?
I did consider sending a shuttle full of guardsmen to the other entrance and reporting on the conditions there.
Okay. I'm sorry. So your party is landing where? You and your normal player character retinue. Where are you guys landing? On the docking
Cargo bay.
side? The cargo area, service area, whatever. And then you said you're sending the other squad to the other side?
No, I said I thought about it.
Okay. So everybody's landing at the service entrance, basically. Okay. All right. So narrating a little bit as you approach, like the shuttles. I imagine you guys come over in a couple of shuttles. You guys basically set down. You step out in void suits, and then you work your way into an airlock access point where you could take like basically it's like an airlock that could handle like 10 or 20 people at a time.
I was assuming the shuttle or the ship could dock with said airlock?
The shuttles, yeah, the shuttles could. Yeah, that would make sense. The shuttles can, and they can ferry in however many people are on the shuttle at a time. And then obviously the airlocks will handle, again, 10 or 20 people at a time or what have you. As you come into the station, there's airflow as far as ventilation and atmospherics and that, but it's got a very greasy, greasy, meaty, bloody, gooey smell to it. Assuming you guys, take your helmets off or don't have helmets on, and you smell the air.
Well, I wouldn't be taking
Oh,
my
I'm
helmet.
leaving my void suit all the way on.
I wouldn't be taking off any of my protective accoutrement until we have like testing.
All right,
Now,
yeah.
by that I mean I'm essentially wearing my rebreather and my armor.
Yep. So what you get as you first enter the station and you start making your way down the initial series of hallways, you're not encountering anything. You're not finding like opposition or resistance. You're also not finding any human bodies or remains or whatever. There are some signs of a firefight having taken place at various points. There's various laser scorch marks, bullet holes, things of that nature. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You may be about to give us the check that I was about to ask for.
If you're doing any sort of like atmosphere check, like pressure, sound, atmosphere is clean, it just does carry that stench of death.
Okay. Well, what I would be looking at is do any of the damage markings look like non-standard or non-human weaponry? Are we seeing plasma burns? Are we seeing any sort of acid? Are we seeing
Common Lore Imperium plus 20.
Plasma burns.
Common Lore Imperium plus 20. I feel like
I'll roll it.
You heard it here first. Common Lore Imperium plus 20.
I feel like this will be a relatively easy thing to determine.
Common Lore Imperial Navy.
Imperium. Well, yeah, you can do Imperial Navy, but do a plus 10 instead of plus 20.
Okay.
$14. Yeah.
That is a success with 4 degrees.
You see it's basically the easiest way to explain it. Actually, before I give you the rest of this answer, give me Common Lore Koronus Expanse. Challenging.
Yes, I do actually.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 0.
Plus 0. Did I just roll the same thing? Wow. Okay.
All right.
So
Chaos
3
has
degrees
infected
of
my
success.
table. All right. So, see, you rolled pretty freaking good. So this is what you see. If there was an easy way to explain it, you see roughly 90-95% of the weapon impacts of various types. Whether it be bullets, laser marks, scorches, whatever. All of, like 90-95% of it is absolutely human made. There are another 5% or so that appear to match what you have understood to be descriptions of Kroot-based weaponry.
Okay.
Kroot, of course, are an alien species more or less native to the Koronus Expanse that usually get hired on as mercenaries.
Yep.
They, I believe, off the top of my head also, because I'd have to look at the book a little bit deeper for this quick little factoid, they tend to eat the dead that they kill.
Yep.
They're cannibalistic to some extent.
They also were repeatedly referenced by the House Fell.
More accurately, it was in the, I forget the Xenosium of Footfall, or maybe it was Port Wander, I don't remember now. Whichever one had the strictly Xenos quarter, that was like, yeah, and then they came through, well, yeah, it was Haderach, House Fell apparently came through and hired off a bunch of the local mercs, including a bunch of Kroot.
Yep. So I start pointing out the markings and going human, Kroot, human, Kroot,
Do the exact same thing I'm picturing in my head too. I'm sure. Yep, that's human. That's human. That's human. Crew. That's human. That's human. That's crew. Amazing.
I didn't even get to use my Forbidden Lore Xenos.
Well, didn't need it. This was common lore Koronus. Unless there's anything stopping you, we can go ahead and start proceeding deeper into the station towards the command and control section.
I also have Forbidden Lore Xenos.
There you go. But yeah. Is there any objections or any other particular direction you want to go, or do you want to just kind of try to make your way to the command and control?
With those successes, can I determine which way it seems that the majority of the fighting headed?
The impression you're getting is that there wasn't a lot of fighting here, so the deeper you go into the station, the more markings you start to see. Like the fighting was heaviest elsewhere.
But I can point out like that that hallway has more fighting than that.
More or less. So basically what happened is whatever fighting took place here, the intensity of it was focused elsewhere than coming through the cargo entrance.
Okay.
I guess it would also appear that they possibly caught him by surprise if they weren't waiting for them at the door.
Could be that. Are
You,
we
sir, have been
moving
taken
anywhere other than
by
towards
surprise.
command and control?
I
I don't want to railroad you guys, but I want to give you guys a choice.
unless the choir rooms, because Winter is with us, and this is Winter's
Okay.
bailiwick, unless the astropathic choirs lay in a different direction, because I know that she would want to check that out as well.
So the astropathic choir and all of their support apparatus is the central football-ish core center of the station.
So we're gonna have to go towards it before we move on to the bridge section anyway.
Considering there's so basically it's like, do you want to go to the core or do you want to go around the core to other places? And the choice is entirely up to you. Like,
let's go to the bridge first,
Okay.
stabilize the station, and then check the core.
Okay. As you move closer and closer to the command and control, you start to see where bodies begin to effectively pile up. You can see at various points they tried different barricades, different there's a word, I'm trying to think of it, I can't think of it. Not enfilade, defilade, is that the word? Where you set up shit to shoot behind or shoot from?
Mhm.
Anyway, they tried to set up, various defilades and things of that nature to slow down the enemy's advance. There's a lot of bodies here. Like, effectively, anybody that could have fought, and they all died here, it looks like. 90-ish%, if not more, are human.
Do I see any other uniforms other than ours?
Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out why this control thing is way. What was your question?
Do I see any other uniforms?
You see amongst some of the dead uniforms that don't match your people's, and they have a very distinct logo on some of their uniforms.
Yes, that's what I would be taking note of that.
Is it the fell?
Hold on. Let me. I just saw it in my notes. I'm trying to find it again. There it is. It is the symbol of so imagine a shield with a teal field, so like a blue-green field, and a black mailed fist in the center of it, positioned such that you're looking at its knuckles. So it's almost like it's trying to punch you in the face, for lack of a better way to explain it. But basically a black mailed fist on a teal field.
That is not the symbol of House Fell unless you've changed it.
It is not. I believe House Fell was something with roses.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got Marcellus back on the ship, if I'm not mistaken, your seneschal.
Now, is this the logo of the other house that attacked us?
The
one that's in the
can. Let me think for a second. Yes, actually, you would know this, but I'll make you roll for it so I don't give you too much information right off the bat. Roll. Don't you have some sort of like heraldry roll or something like that, Rev? Something to do with different houses and nobility and things of that nature.
Let me
Like
double check.
like
I
common
have pure
lore.
nobility.
He's got peer, but this is more like a common lore. It'd be like a common lore nobility or something silly like that the rogue trader has.
Well, I have a common lore rogue trader.
Roll that. Well, yeah, go ahead and roll that, and we'll kind of blanket.
I think you're thinking of like etiquette, interaction skills with high authority in informal situations.
That's one of your talents because you're the rogue
Yeah.
trader. Go ahead and make that common lore rogue trader because, and I'll explain more in a moment. That's probably the closest we're gonna get. But do it at +10 because you've encountered this symbol before.
Rev.
I was
He's
checking.
looking for it.
Oh, okay.
$72. I don't think that's a success, but I've been wrong before.
No,
Not
but a symbol that I've seen before and have noted as an enemy. I don't know how I would have just +10 on.
I'm also gonna give you a little bit of information. Are you gonna fate point that, or are you gonna take the most basic information and run with it later?
I'm saving my 3 fate points
Okay.
for.
In that case, you definitely recognize this as House Hennet, known enemy and former liege or former vassal of your grandfather, or more accurately, former rival to your great grandfather.
Mhm.
Grandfather.
Hmm.
In the Van Breeze domain, and you, because Marcellus Dale isn't with you at the moment, he's not going to give you the full story that you probably would have got had you passed the roll. But the long and short of it is, House Hannet had been one of the noble houses of Regius around the time that your great grandfather took over. But there was some sort of uprising or revolt or something, and he effectively was banished or left. And without passing, you won't get more information than that right now. As you enter this is really bugging the shit out of me. Give me a second. I gotta figure out what the fuck is going on. Because there is a stupid, in Excel, when you like copy a field and you get ready to go paste it somewhere else, you get that stupid little block control. It's just driving me nuts because I can't get rid of it. So give me just a second. I don't know how to explain I know what I'm trying to say. I just can't word it.
Select an empty field and hit the delete key.
Well, it's a Word document, so I'm trying to figure out why it was there.
Oh. Well, then what are you talking about?
It's the same thing. It's that same thing, except it's on a Word document, and it was right there blocking what I was trying to see. Okay. Entering the command station, you notice, of course, that the computers are all basically in a low power mode, but it doesn't take much to fire them back up if you wanted to. There are dead bodies everywhere, blood, entrails, guts, things of that nature. I just said the same thing twice using two different words, but you get the idea. There are, of course, a couple smashed computer screens that look like they were more unintentional victims of the carnage than they were intentional strikes. But otherwise, there are a couple of computer terminals that you can get on and access information and see what happened. And I'll give you, unless you tell me you're not going to, I will give you the short rundown of what happened here.
Okay.
I will definitely be pulling up the
Like ship logs or station logs and things of that nature.
station logs.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what happens?
And camera recordings.
Yep. So basically, what happens, and from the date timestamps on these files, about a month before you guys left Footfall, coming out this way. So this would have been about, before. Actually, this probably would have been before you even arrived at Footfall, coming from Magoros. There was what appears to be a human freighter, Vagabond class, docking with this station at the they use the bougie section of the station to dock. Once it docked with the station, suddenly a bunch of like enemy elements basically stormed across the station. Like various armed gunmen, power suits, and all that crazy shit boarded the station and overpowered the local security, and the Marines swept through the station, killing everyone they could find.
Marines.
Your Marines or their Marines? What is that? What you're asking?
I'm clarifying because the term Marines implies something more than normal humans.
No, not
not a
space
Astartes.
not space Marines. These are more like, I'm thinking more like Marines from, your ship's armed company or troops or whatever. But effectively what they did was whatever they were, they overpowered your own local security / Marines. And again, Marines. These are your militaristic defenders of your station, I guess.
I think the term you're looking for is just security or guard. Like,
Yeah. I'm trying to avoid that confusion there. But yeah, so basically your local security is overwhelmed and overpowered, and then everybody else, they just killed off like all the crew. They appear to have intentionally left the command section for last, and the commander of the station, Sir Arhane Dennis, believes it was because they knew the station would be keeping logs, and they wanted the owners of the station to know who had done this foul deed. Arhane's face is shown on a pic capture right before it ends, a man broken and surrendered, resigning himself to one last dignified end. In a recorded video, it's him. You can see, he's probably got like a cut across one eye or something like that, blood on his face, and when he says, "My lords, in my death, my duty ends, and by the grace of our God Emperor, you will find this recording to know we died to the man, ensuring you would know what happened here." A single las pistol shot rings out, and the man's head evaporates on the screen. A body nearby aligns with what is seen on the screen. The final image on the screen shows both the Vagabond-class merchant freighter in the distance and another close-up. And in both images, the symbol of House Hannock can be seen. A black mailed fist front on as though it were punching you on a teal field. To be clear, that's a single Vagabond-class ship. One at a distance and then one closer in.
Yep.
But effectively, this Vagabond docked, offloaded a bunch of gunmen. They went in and shot the shit out of everybody aboard, saved the command station for last, came in, killed everybody, and then just left.
Okay.
And amongst their raiding party was some crew.
All right.
What would you like to do with this information and knowledge? And
first, we should get the station back into orbit keeping.
Yep. Do what it takes to stabilize the station.
Okay. I will take either piloting or tech use. Challenging from whoever is going to do it.
Icarus?
I don't have piloting.
But you have tech use.
You have tech use.
Listen, when I first wrote this, I did indeed use tech use, but then I was like, you know what? Since I wrote this, I've been using Icarus almost entirely for tech use. Let's let somebody else have a chance. And then I'm thinking, no, I guess a piloting role would be sufficient to bring the station up out of the orbit. I will say this though. Let me find my. So at challenging, you can return it to its normal orbit that it has previously always been on at a difficult -10 to either that tech use or piloting. You can take it into a higher orbit, which will make it more stable and require less often orbital corrections.
Oh well.
I'll do a difficult one. I guess.
Yeah.
And then I'll fate point to get rid of that -10.
Okay.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yes, I hate that it takes, because sometimes based on where my camera is, it's hard to see what the die roll is, and it feels like it takes forever for it to actually report it on the screen. Anyway, okay, yeah, it takes a little bit of work and takes a bit of time. It probably takes, in fact, with between the fact that the station keeping thrusters aren't particularly powerful and the fact that you're going for the higher orbit, it probably takes multiple burns over several hours to get it into that higher but more stable orbit. But beyond that, it also gives you time to do whatever you want to do on station, like I'm assuming maybe, and you absolutely don't have to do this, of course, but maybe gathering up all the dead bodies so you can dispose of them appropriately, i.e., kick them out the airlock. You know, whatever the case, whatever you want to do in that regard.
Lord Captain,
Yes.
what would you like to do with the bodies?
Well, first I want to do a more thorough sweep of the station to make sure there are no remaining surprises and or parties on board, or and check on the condition of the, because an astropathic choir isn't just a room where the astropathic choir hangs out, it's a lot of sensitive equipment. So I would have Winter be checking that out to not necessarily to see if it is functional now, but to see if it is functional enough to be recrewed by a choir in the future.
By the time you guys acquire your stable orbit, again, several hours later, I would imagine, Winter is able to give you a more in-depth report, but the gist of it is that there is some considerable amount of damage applied to some of the equipment that the astropaths use, but a tech crew coming through prior to, let me rephrase what I'm thinking here. A tech crew coming in to clean up and fix things prior to a new astropath choir being installed is not out of the question, nor exorbitantly priced as far as, you know, resources and things of that nature. It's just a matter of sending a crew out here at some point to get it cleaned up and get the new choir put in. And I'm using some of these words almost specifically because the astropath choir is not just human bodies, but a lot of those human bodies get almost literally plugged in to various machines to keep them going as they do their psyker bullshit things.
Right.
They are almost literally plugged in as part of a smaller network. Push shit out.
And so there's no signs of any. They didn't. You know, we're not finding any traps. We're not finding any.
Correct.
Ambushes.
It looks like the intent of what Hennet's raiding force did was just go in, kill everybody, fuck a few things up, and leave again.
And the Vagabond class is essentially little Raider class ships. Yes.
It's just a freighter.
Oh.
It's if you look in the, I took it out of the, I think I took it out of the core book. It's just a basic, it's basically a cargo ship that they use to haul. Like, there's just a random ass ship. One of Hennet's ships decided they were going to come in here, dock, and throw a bunch of gunmen out and go shoot everything and bring them back and leave. There's like, and you could tell, like, as you sift through the evidence and the station logs and all that stuff, there was no finesse. This is simply a brute force. Go in, shoot the shit out of everybody, and then just leave. It was almost like it was just a fit of rage, or like it just doesn't make any sense. There was no messages left behind. No, like, hey, we fucking
I
hate
think the
you.
raid itself was the message.
Yeah.
Yes, if you could tell from the look on my face, the raid itself was the message. That's what I was getting at.
Well, I suppose I will communicate with both Thale and Reinhardt.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, we're not going to be this. The station will never be militarily strong enough to drive away another force, but better security protocols and potentially some upgraded airlocks to make it a little bit harder for boarding crews to brute force their way into the station quickly.
Marcellus agrees, points out that perhaps some turrets of some sort established along the hull of the station would not be such a bad idea, though wiring it into the current infrastructure and power production capabilities might be something of a challenge, but not undoable, not outside the realm of possibility.
I'm sure if we get the Mechanicus on it, it will be handled.
I feel like when Jay says whatever his line of dialogue is that indicates that, he's just looking directly at Icarus. I'm sure the Adeptus Mechanicus will help us out. Isn't that right, brother Icarus?
I was going to say, Akaras, do you think you could squeeze any additional power production? Could you increase the efficiency of the power generation aboard this station?
And Icarus's new name is now Scotty.
That cop. That'd be a tech roll, I guess.
He says everything with that Scotty might say, but it's with a Adeptus Mechanicus Vox instead of the Scottish brogue.
Akaras, do you think you can get any more power out of it? Or is she giving her all she's got?
The Omnissiah is giving all it has to give.
I don't know, DM. Can I roll for that?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You could take a tech use and add your +10 from your Omnissiah rock or whatever the fuck it is, and then any other bonuses you might have.
I was gonna say, don't you also have a
If I have to roll under, I have to roll above an 88 at this point. So
To fail.
yeah.
Yeah.
does that include your Omni
Yes.
tool and stuff? Okay.
We are
Yeah,
rolling good
You guys
today.
are. I really hope we don't get
The
into
roller is
combat.
saving all my bad rolls for combat.
Combat in the warp.
I rolled a 72. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
That's
said all
because
my
everybody
bad
hates
rolls.
you, Rev.
Yeah.
With a 15, it doesn't take you long to figure out that with careful applications of new what's the word I'm looking for? New hardware, such as turrets and things of that nature. It wouldn't be that terribly difficult to tie in these new systems with the currently existing power production, and maybe a few tweaks here and there, and the correct prayers and chants and things of that nature. You can see exactly zero problem increasing power sufficiently enough to add several turrets and sensor systems.
Okay.
I'm
I'll do
going
that
to. Yes. Well, then I will pull a few non-essential personnel off of the crews of both of the two ships. Nothing that will affect. Basically, just to man this with a skeleton crew, enough people to like lock the doors and turn on the turrets and make sure that they don't stop working. Like maybe one tech priest to occasionally go and check all the turrets.
Right.
And a couple of other personnel to basically just mine local signals and allow other people in or out.
And are you leaving these people on the station when you guys depart?
Well, due to the way that things work, especially with rogue traders, an empty station is an unclaimed station.
This is true. So you can crew these people back up. Acheron's ferry rating is going to drop to 32, and the Perilous is going to drop to 28.
Why would the rating be affected by us?
Because you don't exactly have. Well, okay, I see where you're going with this, and you're probably right. So let's do that back to.
At most, between both ships, we're losing 15 to 20 crewmen.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right. I'll let it go.
You did specify like skeleton crew.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Darius's Discord going off in the background makes me keep checking to see if I'm getting new.
Oh,
I
am so.
Omar, that just means you have to change the target from our ships to the station again.
What?
If you wanted to fuck with us, all you have to do is change whatever ship was going to be targeted to the station again.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, it's entirely up to you when you want to take off. Your next stop, of course, as far as warp travel and that, is Regius itself, your home or your capital throne world or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and it's between us and wherever else I'd want to go anyway.
Well, that, and there is the gentle reminder from Marcellus that, of course, regardless of everything that's going on right now, as far as Hanet, the silence of this station, and everything else, that there is still the matter of the coronation that needs to take place. Your
Yes.
people need to see you.
Absolutely.
Also, I know you're dealing with a lot of sinus stuff because you have sinus problems similar to mine, or probably much worse. Every time you sniffle, it comes through. Every time.
I'm actually muting my microphone for a lot of them.
I'm sure you are, but we're getting quite a few.
I am going to suggest that Winter try to contact the rest of the system.
The rest of the Akalos system?
No, the rest of the other systems, like
reaching
Regius.
back to Regius. Okay.
If this is a relay, then surely she
Yeah.
can use either the equipment here or the equipment on board the ship to reach out.
I think
The equipment on board the ship should be at least equivalent to what's on Regius, I would think.
yeah, it wouldn't be that hard, especially with I think between the two, you could probably get a fairly decent signal, for lack of a better thing to call it, to Regius. Is there a particular message you're looking to send or receive?
Confirm
Status update.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, go ahead, Lord Captain.
I want to confirm that everything is clear on the home world, that they're not facing any any interference from any other rogue trader houses, or if there's any hostilities on board at the planet.
Okay. After several hours of, for lack of a better thing to call it, rituals for sending and receiving, along with the traditional encoding and decoding of what is sent and received, you get the gist that on the throne world things appear to be about normal. Everybody is highly expectant of your arrival. There are concerns with the Vitamar, Taslak, and Halos systems, but they are not. Effectively, nobody wants to give anything. God, I'm sorry, I got distracted because I heard pounding somewhere nearby. They don't want to give a lot of details until you get here because nothing is currently that super pressing. Although I'm sure once you get there and you find out what's going on, nope, that was really pressing. You should have told me. But people have made executive decisions, and they are in positions to make those decisions. So,
well, Vitamar, Halusk, and Tazlik, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, are within my realm. But
they are.
But do I have any information on Omaris?
Omaris is your. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like, in normal Imperium space, it would be considered an agra world. However, you are effectively a backwater area, and this isn't that much of an agra world. But for all intents and purposes, it's Omaris.
They produce food.
They produce food. So 75% of that planet's production is food. The other 25% or so is lumber and ore. Basically, everything produced on Omaris goes to Regius to support the population or the what's called the I want to say Regius output. Is that what I called it? Give me a second. Let me look at my notes really quick. Yes, the Regius output. So the term Regius output is basically a lot of things are produced on Regius in order to keep your domain and your ships functioning. This is basically it's like your basic supplies. Food, rations, military equipment like weapons and armor, trade goods, anything that might be needed in your domain to keep your domain functioning as a domain. Anything to keep your ships functioning as ships in support of that domain is produced on Regius. And all of that stuff collectively is referred to as the Regius output. Omaris supports the people living on Regius by feeding them and giving some of the raw materials needed to create the Regius output. The rest of those resources that are needed come from Regius itself.
Well, if my manufacturing takes place in Regius, what is is there a primary role or function or niche that Vitamar?
Those are the other three worlds, Vitamar, Taslak, and Halos, are more like colonial investments. for lack of a better thing to call them. And then to be totally above board and open and honest, I haven't fleshed them out a whole lot outside of some major plot points.
Okay.
But effectively, what that part of that reason is because I never meant for them to be much more than a colonial investment project that your mother was working on before she died. Like she was planning on turning them into something more productive, but had not yet got that far, which now puts it on your plate to do.
Mm.
But as far as like your domain, Regius and Omaris are pretty much like established, set up. One, because of historical reasons, and two, because like they have everything there. Vidomar, Taslak, and Halosk haven't had much effort or investment put into them yet, but there was a plan at one point.
Mm.
And while we're talking about all that, let me switch this over so people know what I'm talking about. So the short version is Regius, which is right about here on the map. That's the the throne world or the capital. That's where a lot of the production takes place in the main hive city, which is called all of this stuff that's being produced is called the Regius output. Omaris is an agro world where basically 75% of its production is food products that are sent to feed the people on Regius, as well as about 25% in the form of like lumber and some ores. And then the main resource draw for the Regius output comes from Regius. Vidomar, Halosk, and Taslak are more colonial opportunities that had not yet been fully realized previously. I just wanted to give the viewer something to see there. So you knew what I was
Right
talking
now,
about.
with the choir communications, if they don't take too long, does Regius have the potential crew to recrew this station? Do they have
Do they have enough
choir-worthy-
bodies to put back in there?
Well, not just bodies, but in particular, the one resource that would be most needed is, do they have the people with the right technical and people who were psychically enough inclined but failed to become actual psychers to plug
Well,
into the station?
Those people become food for the Emperor.
No. Some of them become food for the Emperor. Some of them become astropathic relays.
Okay, fair. They're in between. I hear you. So the response that you get from both your on the ship advisors and your people back on Regius via the astropathic communication is this. The people on Regius would need the full tech readout of what remains of that station in order to determine what needs to be done as far as everything mechanical, right? As far as the people, they have a few stock that they could send out, and they can request more stock from the rest of the Imperium so they can at least get the beginnings of what was once an astropathic relay that was not really. So again, I want to be clear. What you had here as an astropathic relay is insignificant to the power that is normally able to be produced in a standard Imperial astropathic relay. This was basically this was 28K modem when the rest of the Imperium was on broadband. Does that make sense?
Except a lot of the Imperium doesn't have internet right now.
But you get where, like, insofar as the astropathic relays are concerned,
Yes.
everybody out there is on broadband. What you had here was effectively a 28K modem connection. Very much a backwater setup, and it was just enough. It was barely enough logistically to get information back and forth to coordinate your trade efforts between your domain back to Footfall, Port Wander, and into the Calixus sector.
Which is more than most rogue traders in the sector have.
Right. So your domain, because you've got a few generations of establishment highly focused in one area, is how you ended up with this situation that you have. It has, however, also put you on something of a bullseye, or more accurately, a bullseye has been put on it Evidently, because they're now shooting the absolute shit out of what you might consider an astropathic relay.
I would also suggest lockdown procedures for the central astropathic chamber in case of a future attack.
Yeah. Honestly,
But
the reception and bridge areas could
Mhm.
more easily be completely be rebuilt and replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost see a failsafe where adamantium doors come down and explosive charges render the rest of the station open to space.
leaving just the core, is that what you're getting at? The astropathic core, that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think you may get is like
Even
you
cr-
wouldn't.
even
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
even I'd basically be drawing out plans for this for it to be handled by whoever comes after or whoever is sent to refurbish the station, but essentially a even the crew need to breathe insurance policy.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Fail at one point kind of points out that, it wouldn't take much to even, if necessary, jettison the astropathic core into the planet as a final last ditch effort in order to prevent the station being compromised or assets being compromised. Now, and he points out that this is a very dire, like if the attack focus was to kill the astropaths or something silly. He kind of rambles a little bit, so he's not really sure exactly where he's going with this, but like this is obviously one of several possible contingency plans. Is that one option is you just jettison the entire core into the surface of the planet in order to prevent the astropaths from being captured or destroyed. It's not necessarily an end-all, be-all fix to raiders attacking, but it is a possible thing to have put on the list.
You mentioned capture. Were the astropaths that were on board the station captured or killed?
Oh, based on the bodies that you saw I'm assuming at some point somebody would have gone. Well, Winter obviously wouldn't inquire. They were killed.
Yeah.
They were killed on the spot. Again, it looks like this entire attack was literally show up, shoot the shit out of everybody, and leave.
Well, the members of House Hannett and the Kroot are sent to either the kilns or the corpse starch processing, and the members of the crew, particularly the command staff, are given space burials.
Okay. Yeah. And it's not hard to set it up so the bodies, whether individually or in groups or in caskets or on pallets or whatever, it's not hard to set it up so that when you jettison them, they'll be captured by the planet and burned up in the atmosphere. So that you're not littering space, littering and burning in the high atmo. Nobody Super Troopers, really?
Smoking the reef.
There you go. Somebody had to know where I was going with that.
That is one of those movies that I have avoided watching.
Listen, I hear you.
The original is so good.
The original is much better than the second one. The second one is pretty good in and of itself when you recognize that it is indeed effectively a repeat of the first with a slightly different storyline. But it's
I may have it on good authority from actual Leos that Super Troopers is not far off.
I sadly, having been in the military and known some of the shit that we have done, and applying some of that information and thought processes to the law enforcement side, I could see that. Absolutely, I could see that. All right, so we've corpse starched the Kroot and Hennett fallen.
No, the Kroot went to the.
I'm sorry.
The Kroot went to feed the reactors.
Sure.
Atomic matter is atomic matter.
Yes, it is. And we corpse starched the Hennett, or do they get fed to the reactor as well?
No, they're
being fed to other people. Got it.
Yeah.
Waste not, want not.
I wouldn't feed my. I like my crew too much to feed them aliens.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Then
Or-
why are you feeding them to the other guys?
Well, they're not alien. The Hennet are people.
Oh, I thought you said animals.
No. The Hennet are people.
Well, are you sure?
Well, they are human. Whether or not they're people is a different matter.
Hey, aliens are people too.
Uh-uh.
Not according to the
Yeah.
humanity of the Imperium.
Well, I mean, literally, by definition, aliens.
No,
can't
they
be-
are. I mean, by definition, people can be alien as well. I won't get into that because that seems to be a very touchy subject right now.
No, that's
Oh,
that's
boy.
a different use of the word alien.
It is. Absolutely it is.
But aliens, as an extraterrestrial beings, are literally not people
Correct.
because of the definition of people.
Yeah, I suppose that is one way to look at it. Shall we progress to Regius then?
Sure. Unless
I see no reason not to progress further.
All right.
Once we've held the funerals, locked down the station, left a skeleton crew with some level of security behind.
All right, let me pull my stuff up. Let's see. Open void translate for Regius. When the players are ready, it's time to depart Acheron for Regius. The base journey travel time, I'm not telling you that right now. We're going to start with Navigator making a challenging cognitions test with a +20 bonus for detailed charts on hand. So that's going to be...
Oh, there does need to be a bit of a retcon. Speaking of space travel,
Okay.
because of the way that things got interrupted between sessions, when we were traveling from Footfall to Repton, on our way out, we had said we were going to, and it just got lost between sessions. We were going to turn over our astro navigation data to the, I forget what the it's not a navigator, but essentially the navigation's record keeper on Footfall.
Oh, the Scrivener.
Yeah.
We call or something or other. I forget his name,
Scrivener,
but
yes.
yeah, I remember giving you a profit factor for that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
didn't
I
think
want
you
to
did.
say you went from, I think you were at 57 and went to 58, or maybe I have the wrong card and it's supposed to be 59. I remember doing it though. I remember adding
No,
one for
it's supposed to be 58.
Yeah.
Well, it was 59, and then I spent one of them.
Yes.
What did you spend it on?
Keeping us in good standing, making sure that we remained in good standing with.
Yes, because you had did some dirty things.
No. If anything, I did it the best way that Footfall would have handled it,
Jesus.
and he used Footfall as neutral ground.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got you. The low rolls continue. I rolled an 8, and I needed a 79 in order to pass
Nice.
this test. So
7 degrees of success.
Yep.
An actual region of Footfall would be really pleased that I kept it to a duel and didn't
Yeah,
resort to all-out warfare.
that
in
might be
Footfall.
true too, but the chance of it going and escalating is always there. Somebody go ahead and make a 1d100 roll against your crew morale because you have sent a few people behind, and the attack on Acheron. This is going to be a -5, and so instead of needing a 100, you need to roll a 96 or higher.
How dare
6,
you.
97, 98. Yeah, 96 or higher.
Or higher?
I'm sorry, no, I said that wrong. On a 95 or lower, you're good.
Okay.
Sorry. I totally bollocks the way that
I was
goes.
gonna say, I think that's backwards. I think it's
Yeah.
backwards.
Yep.
I actually knew what
36.
you meant.
All right. Crew morale is good. Effects of translation. Willpower rolls. Rogue Trader +20.
Are we not doing the ritual first?
Well, this is part of the ritual. I apologize. However, go ahead and have everybody give up a couple of coins and throw it into the pot, literally, as it gets melted into the new skull of the Eyes of Obel. I believe is how the ritual goes.
Mhm.
But that will take us to the next step, which is willpower rolls. So Rogue Trader and Icarus +20, Reinhardt and Jace +30.
They're still on
Alrighty.
+20.
These are your basic willpower tests. What are they?
Yes, I know.
I'm re-rolling that, obviously.
Yes. 56 sounds much better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everybody good?
Hey,
Yeah,
Warner
I'm
doesn't have to
so
worry
good.
about it this time.
Icarus.
Yeah, let me look up my willpower real quick.
Icarus, I think, is good. Icarus with a
Oh, yeah.
41.
Warner, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, with a 7.
Yeah, that was good.
And another 8. That's our third single-digit roll in a few minutes there.
Yeah.
Scary. Very scary. Okay, we're good as far as the willpower tests go. Next is Navigator makes a routine cognitions test to find the Astronomicon. So that's going to be... God, that's going to be another 79. Nope, that's a 99. Don't roll 00. Damn, why did I say that out loud? Oh boy, that got really close to a 00. You guys saw that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So now we have a plus 20 on. Nope, sorry, plus 10 navigation warp tests. Moving forward, and then but first we have Navigator makes challenging navigation warp. Plus the 20 for detailed charts. Plus 20
Plus
for
10.
Navis Prima, and the plus 10 for Nav Warp. That's plus 50. That's another don't roll zeros. Let me double check.
Yeah, she also has access to an almanac.
I think that almanac actually applies more to you. I do have something that gives her.
No, it applies to both.
Where's navigation? Yeah, 62 plus. Yep, don't roll 00.
Like I said, I don't think you're gonna avoid the crit fail.
89. We're good. That is with effectively 2 degrees of success. So let's see. Table 2-4. There it is. What was the base time? Base time was X. So now we have half of X, which means we have 2 warp encounters checks. Let me add
Not bad.
update my ship's logs. I'm going to say that we were at Ekelos for about a grand total of 2 days for all of the things we were doing. Does that sound right? Fair to everybody?
I would think with the installation of weaponry, it might
I was
take a
gonna
little
say-
longer than
I
2
would
days.
say that was a busy 2 days, but okay.
I mean, I could do 3. Make it 3 days if you feel more confident with that.
Jace,
Yes.
what do you think?
Honestly,
I was thinking more than that myself, to be honest.
How many days would you like to spend there doing all the things you were doing?
Well, if we're gonna
about
be,
a week.
yeah, I was gonna say burying all the or dealing with all the bodies, doing a full tech rundown for being able to send another crew out, making sure everything's stabilized, and getting turrets installed, as well as whatever additional power he's got to squeeze out of her, Captain. A week does sound closer to accurate to me.
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay.
So 1 week goes by.
Probably a daily, at least, connection with Regius to
Update and pass info.
update and, yeah, status update. So that we don't get taken by surprise by anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Or at least we minimize the chances of being taken by surprise by anything.
All right. We have done all of that. So now, all right. Give me 2 1d100 rolls from. You know what? Reinhardt hasn't rolled a whole lot tonight yet.
I can do that.
2 1d100 rolls, please.
2 1d100 rolls. Whee!
61. Warp Storm. Or
Time travel, time travel, time travel.
All's Well.
Nope. All's well.
Looks like that's...
All's well.
All right. Icarus, go ahead and give me the other 2 1d100 rolls before we come out of warp.
Okay. 1. 42.
42 is Stasis.
Oh. It should be the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
No.
Oh.
You're right, but that is not the answer.
No, that
or
is not the
82.
question.
Correct. Stasis or Warp Riff. Stasis, these are both physical encounters, so it's just a matter of which one in case we fail. Our chances of failure are, I believe, pretty low because I finally got around to spending experience points on the Navigator and the Seneschal.
Well, I personally feel that if we rolled a 42, it would be a loss not to take advantage of that.
So we're going to go against the Stasis. Okay. All right.
If everybody else is okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, so first attempt to detect it. This is Psyniscience plus 10. Psyniscience is base 59, so need to roll 69. Nice. 66 is a success. We did detect it in time. We don't get any... well, hold on. Let me see. Attempt to avoid as per. Oh, let's see. I thought I had updated this. Okay, well, I'll have to take a look at my notes later. I think I get like a plus 10 on this next roll. Let me double check something. Encounters. Detecting encounters gains a plus 2. Let's see. Navigator has time to prepare. Chanting, etc., etc., etc. Plus 20 bonus to navigation warp test when facing this encounter. If he fails, no bonus. If he fails by more than 2 degrees of success, completely unaware, and bam, runs into the shit. So we get a plus 20 on the next navigation warp, which means I need to roll navigation warp 62, 42, or excuse me, 82, 102. Yeah, 102.
Don't forget the almanac.
Nope. That's like a dozen degrees of success. Not literally, but close enough. So now we need our illustrious pilot. Hey, dogleg, and make a piloting plus 10, plus whatever else you got. To avoid the stasis field.
I will burn a fate.
Okay. Because you also have that almanac or something.
Yes.
So I think you're sitting at like a plus 30, plus 40 with that fate point.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Go ahead and make your piloting roll.
Piloting is based on agility, which is a base of 55, so 95 or less.
Indeed. 9 fucking... Holy shit. You literally rolled the lowest you could roll and got 9 degrees of success. I think you show off. I think you make the ship do a cartwheel. Like, I don't know how this...
No. You know how you do that rolling turn this way?
Uh-huh. You do like a banking maneuver?
Like normally you would bank by going like this.
Right.
Oh, I'm literally doing a full 360-degree turn and coming out sitting here.
Okay. All right. Well, that was both encounters avoided, which means, because we did exactly the amount of time we're supposed to spend in the warp, we arrive exactly when we're supposed to, where we're supposed to, much like a wizard in Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
And therefore, we arrive at Regius. We see what my notes say about arriving at Regius. So, Regius is, of course, the capital system of the Van Breeze domain, consisting of a golden yellow sun at its core. In the inner system, a dust cloud wanders and lays mostly unimpressive. In the primary biosphere for the Alpha Matka star is Regius Prime, the primary world of the system and the throne world of the domain. In the system's outer reaches is an asteroid belt and Regius Secundus, both of which have been mined out for generations in order to fuel the Regius output. Regius Prime is a large body normal gravity world with a lesser moon called Woltak. And there is a, what's that when you take a word and you rearrange the order of the letters to get another word? What's that called? I want to say it's a palindrome, but I don't think that's the right word.
Palindrome
not-
is the same forward and backward.
Okay, so that's not it then.
So,
Right.
anagram is the word you're looking
Anagram.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a anagram of another word that I'm wondering if anybody will ever figure it out, but it's Woltak is the name of this lesser moon in orbit, also mined out and virtually useless insofar as resources are concerned. Has a moderate atmospheric pressure. Atmosphere is near pure. It was pure at one time, but generations of progressively moving towards hive cities and strip mining the planet for all resources has left the atmosphere slightly tainted. There are no lingering effects, but it is not quite what one would consider to be pure. The climatology of Regius Prime is hot. Equatorial regions of the world are virtually too hot for humans, though with some preparation it is possible to survive. Temperate bands are generally warm and humid and host the main hive city Rastapol in the north, while a second one is in the planning for the northern temperate band. Okay, nope. There's supposed to be one in the north and one in the south. Sorry. The one in the north is the Rastapol. The one in the south is under planning, which means there's a bunch of city stuff already there, populations and whatnot. It's just a matter of it's not being actively converted into what could otherwise be considered a hive city. The habitability of the planet is rated as a limited ecosystem and presumes that at one time life was abundant on this world until the push for over-urbanization began, ruining the local ecology and devastating the living flora and fauna. Regius Prime consists of a single massive large land mass with several island chains and many islands dotting its Mossack Sea. Equatorial wastelands dominate the continent, and its central plains of Helgoroth are where the hottest temperatures on the planet are recorded. There's also a large island considered by some to be a subcontinent, similar to the Indian subcontinent, for those that are familiar with Earth plate tectonics. This island is the home of the Hildemas tree, the sap of which is often and widely used as a healing agent, and there are others that say using that sap or its byproducts as there are others that do use the sap or its byproducts as a psychotropic, including the so-called Oracle of the Void or the Hildemas Oracle. The Regius Secundus is a small body and doesn't really offer much. Once it was a trove of minerals and ores that has been long since mined out. A few mining facilities exist still, mostly for penal labor, used to ensure that there are some resources for the Regius output. There is a small moon in orbit of Secundus, but it too has also been stripped of any useful materials or sources. And lastly, I need to open up another document. Where's that? Damn it. I know I wrote this not long ago. Where the fuck is it? Did I change the name and forget where I put it? Ah, there it is. Alright, so history lesson. And you can imagine this is a briefing that Thale is giving you at, various points along the journey from Footfall to now. Is that about 300 years ago, your great-grandfather came to Alpha Matka, discovering the Regius pseudo-throne world. Over several years, this great-grandfather ingratiated himself into the nobility of this world, and at that time, there were 7 noble houses of that world. I'm not going to list all the names because you're just going to be lost in a rambling of names. But effectively, there was a collection of merchants, a leader of a union of trade crafters, the leader of the world that was later deposed. There was a lady in charge of the Regius Guards, which is effectively the commander of that planetary military and defenses. There was also the leader of the local church that mostly followed the doctrines of cult imperialis. And when I say mostly, it's more that it was attempting to adhere to the doctrines of the cult, but sometimes things were lost along the way because they didn't have official, not Inquisition representation. What's the word I'm looking for here? Actual cult imperialis representation?
So are they more Drusian or something else?
It would have been, I guess, maybe Drusian or some other form of the imperial cult. Like, obviously, they revere the God Emperor. There's no argument there. It's just they would sometimes forget some of the tenets because nobody from the official church was backing it, if that makes any sense at all. So imagine somebody from the Pope's office.
They're non-denominational emperor fathers.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. It's just like, hey, some of that stuff we forgot about because, well,
It's like a Catholic church without the support of the Pope.
right, and not in a excommunicated sort of way. It's just like, oh, we forgot about that island way the fuck out there, and we haven't had a time or person to send a bishop out that way in like 4 generations. So meanwhile, they've just been doing the best they can with the good book that they have, except several pages are missing, and some of the pages they have are difficult to read. And so that's effectively what's happened here, is that you have a cult of the Imperialis, or cult Imperius, whatever the fuck it's called. You have a local church here, and they're doing their damn best. It's just, they're at like 97.6% accuracy to what is otherwise 100% mandated doctrine. And then lastly, you have 2 houses that effectively rule the rest of Pol itself. You have the governor of the Heights and the governor of the Underhive. Now, about 250 years ago, the House Hanet, who had been up until that point the governor of the Underhive, and the house that was in control of the entire world, allied and fought against your great-grandfather to keep him from gaining further power amongst the houses of nobility. However, your great-grandfather, with the support of the local church and the military, put down that opposition, and House Hanet was ousted, and House Wrath, which is the one that was in charge of the planet, was relegated to leadership of the Underhive. About 100 years later, or roughly 150 years ago, your grandfather secures trade deals with Omaris to provide food and some raw materials to support Regius. That's when Omaris more or less effectively or officially became the agro world attached to Regius. Previous to that, there had been some trade agreements and things like that, but your grandfather was the one that really drove it home and made it everlasting. And then about a century ago, your grandfather assumes leadership of Regius and establishes the Van Breeze House domain. This is when when the Van Breeze domain officially or effectively comes into place. I shouldn't say officially because according to the Imperium, it doesn't exist yet. Mostly because nobody in the Imperium, as far as like the Administratum is concerned, or any of the other High Lords of Terra are concerned, the Van Breeze domain just doesn't exist. They don't know any better. But insofar as anybody out here that might give a shit and is able to back it up, specifically your house and all your assets, the Van Breeze domain was established about 100 years ago. One of the other houses was moved to the Underhive, and House Wrath was assumed governorship of the smithies of Omaris, which is one of the lesser nobilities on the Omaris world. And then roughly 50 years ago, your mother took over. House Hanet is identified as being the rulers of Alpha Haneti, if you notice the name similarities there.
I figured it out.
And it is implicated that House Hanet had something to do with the death of your grandfather, which brought your mother into power, but there has never been anything verified or no real actual evidence to back that up ever since. It's kind of a rumor, for lack of a better thing to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then roughly a year before you encountered Marcellus Thale for the very first time, of course, is when your mother was slain on Vidomar, allegedly by orcs, for reasons unknown. And that is the extent of our history. I have a document that I've been following along.
We've got orcs on Vitamar.
Evidently. Did I not mention that before? I thought I had.
Why
No.
wasn't that mentioned in the communication?
Maybe I just let that slip now and wasn't supposed to. I might have been planning orcs on Vitamar for a long time and was like, I never told them that on purpose, and now just fuck that. Or it was implied that orcs killed your mother, but nothing was like ever definitive about it, or Thale never spoke about it. Because if you recall, the very first time you had a conversation with Thale about your mother, he was a little bit verklempt about it.
Yep.
And also, things have been kind of busy since. Not that that's an excuse or anything. That's just the truth.
Well, there was supposed to be a mystery around how my mother died up until right now. Thank you.
Yes, I think I just solved that mystery. You're welcome. Damn it. I was not supposed to say that orky bit. Okay, so let's just say for now, out of character, you don't know that there's orcs there. Unfortunately, I did fuck it for the players. Guess what? There's orcs at Vitamar.
Okay.
Until I decide to change my notes and-
Orcs.
Until I decide to change my notes and now it's Eldar or some other dumb shit. But yeah, so that's a nutshell / court or slam course through your Regius histories. You're arriving. I want you to imagine, of course, this golden world and this not quite desert planet. Because it's like super hot on the surface of your planet, especially in the equatorial regions and whatnot. But your hive city itself is still fairly, I don't know. Imagine like going to some place like Cairo or any other place in a kind of like a Middle East desert tropic sort of thing with lots of pyramid structures.
West
Pyramid.
Texas.
I'm sorry. You
I
said
said
something.
West. I said West Texas.
Sure. West Texas is a good example for what I'm thinking because I hated the fucking heat there. But yeah, like the planet itself is pretty hot.
You have to go to Memphis to see the pyramids, though.
Is that Memphis, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Best pyramid in the world.
so I'm envisioning your hive city, and I don't really have a good idea of what a hive city looks like, except for a conglomeration of holy shit. What the fuck is all of that city right there? It's very much a pyramidine structural as far as an overall snapshot might be considered. You have the heights, which is the uppermost reaches of the city. This is ruled by the highest of the nobility, and it will actually pass to Marcellus Thale when you assume governorship of your domain. He will be the governor of the heights.
Okay, so he's just the governor of the city itself, not the.
It's the governor of the heights kind of has that kind of like the XO of the governor, if they're like lieutenant governor of everything. If you were the governor, if that makes sense.
Well, I was assuming that the governor of the world would be sort of his position.
It's you. Like, you're the lord of everything. He rules in your stead, but his official capacity otherwise is the governor of the heights. But because it's expected that the rogue trader is not often on world, then the default is the governor of the heights is the ruler of the system, or the entire domain for that matter. Like typically the governor of the heights has the authority and the support of the rogue trader to act in his stead in the absence of the rogue trader anywhere within the domain. Yeah, it's like a pretty honored and high rank, like it's the highest position outside of the rogue trader itself.
I would not be considered governor of the planet. King Richard may have ruled all of England, and the seat of his power might have been Londinium, but it still had a London still had a mayor.
Correct. It's a similar setup where, except in this case, I think using that analogy, the mayor of London is the steward of the British Empire, whatever term you want to use to represent that. In lieu of the king being around. This is a really bad analogy, but using that, if the King of England decided to go to Ireland to see his royal subjects there. And I think I meant Northern Ireland. You get the idea.
No.
The mayor of London takes over the leadership of the British Kingdom until the king returns. Insofar as like the hands-on right there. You know, I'm getting a little bit twisted, but effectively, Thale is your.
I
right
think
hand.
you have conveyed the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I may have belabored this point by a lot here.
Yay, space feudalism.
Yes, space feudalism. Yeah, I really thought you said space peopleism for a second there.
Oh,
Until I realized what you actually said. Anyway, history lessons and government politics and models of government aside, you have arrived at home, and we are at a point where I have no more notes for the night.
Okay.
oh, good place to end it.
Yeah, so I owe you 50 experience points from last week because it was a started but not completed session, so take a total for tonight and last week, a total of 300 experience points.
Okay.
Yeah.
That puts me into rank
That
3.
I believe by this point everybody gets ranked up other than Thale. I did Anastasia and Marcellus's experience points when I prepped, and I was like, oh, okay, Anastasia ranks up. And I'm looking at Thale like, oh, that's right, I put Thale at like rank 3 to start, so he's still got like several hundred, if not a couple thousand to go. And I've been like cutting their experience gains by half of whatever you guys get, so they don't level up quite so fast beside you because they're NPCs. At any rate, I do realize,
Sorry,
of course,
how much XP did you say?
300.
300.
300.
Yep, that includes the 50 from last week.
Woot.
And of course, with my standard 200 per session and the 50 for an objective being completed, that objective being, of course, getting to, well, resolving the Akalo station situation and also getting to Regius. If you happen to complete
Oh,
more,
so we should have 50 more.
nope. If you complete more than one objective, you only get one objective's worth of XP.
I know.
Because I know some of you power gamer types are gonna sit there and be like, listen, just wait. If we kill the last guy of these last 3 things at once, we get 150 experience points for
Alright.
3 separate tasks.
So we are waiting outside of the Regius system so that our goal of reaching the Regius system doesn't happen until next week.
See, you goddamn power gamers need to fucking stop. I've already explained several times that you have arrived at Regius.
Yes, but I never said that.
I'm the fucking GM here.
Don't.
Yeah,
don't
but
do an
Rev
arms
never
race
said that
with the
we
GM.
leave warp.
Do what? What'd you say, Darius?
Rev never confirmed that we left
Oh my
warp.
god. Oh my
Yeah.
god. All right. You know what? I take all of your experience away. You are not even characters anymore. You are 0 experience. Period. Yeah.
yay, baby.
Exactly. You're back to being babies. Meanwhile, Zinch is wandering
Back?
around going, well, that was a great change.
Well, Rev was wanting some time travel.
Yay.
Don't think this is the time travel he was expecting.
I do get to save my mother.
And you do get to confirm whether it was orcs or not.
Orcs, 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 orcs.
All right, feedback,
Kills them
outro,
all.
feedback and outro comments. Let's start with the Lord Captain himself. Brigadier Van Breeze, Gizbath the Third of First of Avalon, and a few other assorted titles.
I, of course, in addition to those astropathic relays, I suppose the one last note of the session is I would be checking on the additional tasks that I had put Thale and
Yes.
company up to.
Yes. Yes. I will have to remember that for next week.
And I will have to give you finalized notes on that.
Yes, please do, at your earliest convenience, that I will probably ignore until the very last minute, because that's just the way my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
The lastest minute.
The last is like, oh, hey, we're going live, and I need to look at something really quick.
Hey, Rev, what was that you sent me?
Rev, can you resend that document? Because you sent 6 other things since? That sounds about right. Darius, feedback, outro comments, what do you got?
I've got, well, until we leave the warp.
Oh, you're orbiting the fucking planet right now. Jesus, man.
I don't recall exiting.
It happened. You must have been asleep.
I specifically told them not to leave the wharf without telling me.
They told you. You went right back to sleep, and because that I have experienced this for myself. Sometimes when you go right back to sleep, you forget whatever happened right before it.
You might.
I have.
Aren't I the pilot?
Yeah. The navigator pulled the ship out of the fucking warp, though, so
Oh, that's navigator's job.
I think that's how it works. I don't know. Listen,
Well,
we've
technically,
already
we-
known that I am not 100% up on all the warp or all of the Warhammer 40K lore and techniques.
Yeah.
I think that's
Look,
obvious.
as far as I'm concerned, you ran out of notes describing like the intel that we were discussing in the warp on the way to the planet.
Jesus, that's you know what? No, but Darius, do you got anything else, or I'm gonna move on to my other two.
Go ahead and move
All
on.
right. Icarus, the character played by Alturios, the OS endings are killing me, but it's okay. It's funny. What do you got for us?
We got the warp rules down pat now.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point where we just need to have some really bad rolls in order to.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
actually-
if you
like,
if you
even-
if you GM fudge away for the Geller field, just stop working. Yeah.
We might
I
be in
think-
trouble.
Yeah, I think that's about the only way to have a warp encounter at this point. Which should be strictly for plot reasons and not because random. Which is fine because like I know that's one of the things I've always like been a little apprehensive about with this system. Starting out, you've got let's just call it a ballpark 50-50 of whether or not something bad is gonna hit your ship. You know what I mean? And now, granted, the way we've been doing this and whatnot, we've gotten to a point where we've pretty much gamified the system as far as we can. So it's almost impossible, but not entirely, to not have a problem. Like we've had like 3 or 4 warp journeys now where absolutely nothing has happened.
There's only one other major upgrade I can think of that would help keep anything from happening in the warp.
And what would that be? So I can rule it out right now.
You literally can't. It's a ship upgrade.
Oh yes,
I think we're running out of ship space.
You are out of ship space on this ship.
Yes.
But yeah, I think at this point it is almost literally it'll have to be a plot point in order to have something in the warp happen. Which is fine, because
We should probably look at the stats of the fell hand and see if there's anything we want to reconfigure.
I know that was what I had planned to do.
well, as it turns out, that requires me putting the fell hand together. And to that I say
What? That might be the new flagship.
No, it would make sense because theoretically the fell hand is supposed to be like one step up or something to that effect. Because it was meant to be like if you look in the and now that you guys have completed that mission, you can look in the core book and see the Into the Maw adventure and read it for yourself. The part where it talks about the fell hand, it was intentionally left undesigned so that the GM could design it as needed to be slightly more powerful than the player ship, in order to prevent them from being like, well, we'll just go and attack them and say, fuck you, and cut them out of the deal right away. All of that is mock sneaks, as they say on the other side of the pond. Meaning it doesn't matter anymore. Which means now I need to make the fell hand in order to give you guys a ship to unmake. I don't know.
Well, as I see it,
To
It's a-
redesign.
Yes,
as I see
yes.
it, it's a tabula rasa, and so
Yeah.
whatever
pretty much.
you don't need to make a ship. You just need to say it's this size ship, and we'll tell you what the refit
yeah.
and repair ends up looking like.
I
So
mean,
you
that
don't
makes-
actually need to make a ship.
No, I know. But I do have to approve whatever cockamamie bullshit you come up with. So if it's Rev, it's going to be nothing but time machines and fucking teleportariums. And maybe a Geller field. To hold it all together.
Geller field where we're going.
What a great line. We don't need a Geller field where we're going.
I replace all of the guns with boarding torpedoes.
Ship combat, you say? Ha! I heard ground combat aboard their ship. Warner, help me out, brother. I'm losing my goddamn mind.
Well, I'm afraid I might not help much with that, but I'll do what I can.
Sure. No, you probably can't
Um,
do anything for me.
Minor things going on.
Yeah.
No, I had fun tonight, and it was a little quiet. It was a little uneventful, but it's not entirely on you to make events always happen. So I'm, we could have interacted more as the crew, taken some initiative to do some things.
I think, not to take anything away from what you said, I think with what we had planned for last week being aborted, and the net result of tonight being, well, this is everything else that was supposed to happen. I think what we did encounter or effectuate tonight was enough. We don't necessarily have to have every episode be chock full of shit.
A squad of crew might have been nice.
I don't know. I will keep that in mind. Someday a squad of crew right here at the Capitol.
He just said squad-a-crute.
It's a squad of crew.
Well, if they were just there by themselves, I would want to recruit them.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Of course he would. Anyway, but yeah, that said, I think tonight didn't have to be heavily intense. It didn't have to be an intense session. I think the biggest thing really was just finishing up.
Well, some of the descriptions were intense.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, the big takeaway: these fuckers showed up at one of your stations, killed everybody, and left. Like that in and of itself.
And the whole place was covered in blood and gore.
Yeah, and the stench of death. I mean, because this had happened like a few months ago in closed air system. Like, yeah, that's pretty gruesome. That's pretty fucking gruesome.
I was honestly worried about either Nurgle or Korn once you said like stench of death and meat throughout the station. I'm like,
No, I just wanted to illustrate the fact that nobody had done anything about this station in months since everybody was killed. I mean, there might be questions about, why did nobody from Edges come and check it out too, but who knows what's going on.
Yeah. One of the things we may want to do is situate a ship solely to the purpose of emergency deployment within your home system.
well,
like
we
having a
have
ship
two.
on like a ready reserve sort of deal where the minute something happens or
Right.
something's weird, they go check it out.
Yep.
Well,
Possible.
honestly, my plan to make it easier for Omar was as we collect more and more ships, hopefully, we leave most of them as a reserve fleet in our space so that he doesn't have to balance out 15 ship battles.
I mean, the first time we have more than 2 or 3 ships, you guys realize it's going to take many sessions to complete that fight, right? Like, we've all played Battletech before. We know how easily it escalates from a 1-on-1 to a 12-on-12 and the wild time range that entails.
Right, and that was one of the reasons why I was planning on leaving most of them as a reserve fleet.
Yeah.
Rather than a come with me everywhere we go fleet.
And the other thing to consider too, and I almost don't want to do it this way, but you do have a number of other ships that are nebulous in as far as details go that form the trade network and whatnot for both within the domain and from the domain to the rest of the Imperium.
Trade network, not necessarily combat.
True.
Yeah.
True, but you can always task a cargo ship, hey, you're going that general direction anyway, why don't you linger a little bit, bolt at the first sign of trouble, but tell us what's going on over there. I mean, that's kind of the point of the Merchant Marine, if I'm not mistaken. Not so
isn't
much
isn't
not so much
the
Warhammer, but the real world merchant marine, at least to some degree.
isn't the pursuit of profit a cargo ship?
Yes.
It was I believe technically, I don't think there's much distinction. This was a pilgrim ship.
Right.
So if anything, it would be closer to a passenger liner, for lack of a better thing to call it, whatever that might look like in 40K. Although
Well,
it's
a cargo vessel now.
Yeah. It can absolutely be converted over to a cargo ship. By absolutely no hesitation or obstacles there.
Yep. Or half passenger, half cargo.
Yeah. Or
I don't
people
think
aren't
there's
cargo, mate. I almost said something totally
Look, if you
inappropriate.
just put the people in cargo containers, you can have a ship without a distinction.
That's
Well, I
how you
mean-
end up with a brand and the captain of a ship called the Black Pearl.
Well, there are enough modularity to have an area of the ship that can be pressurized for people or unpressurized for cargo. I mean, like it's not.
No, it's not. You're right. Like it's easy to quickly draft up some shit back and forth together. I think the one thing to consider is that, again, I don't want to get into like spreadsheets of all these different ships and where they're at any point in time. Like you have a network of ships that, in theory, you can call on one or two of them at any given point in time.
Oh yeah.
Anything more than that may require extra rolls and or
Yes, but if I'm going to put down House Hannett once and for all, or if I'm going to go enforce my claim on the fell warrant of trade, I'm going to need more than just a couple of nebulous ships that I could possibly call on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't forget, of course, that your GM has a master antagonist that may or may not be House Hannett.
I figured the Fell Hand will become the new capital ship or flagship.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then what is Paralos?
It's a Wolfpack Raider or whatever the hell it's called. It's basically a little frigate. It's smaller than you guys' ship. If you guys are a frigate, it's a Corvette. It's just guns.
So the Acheron's ferry or the Paralos could be stationed. I think the Paralos should be stationed here in Regius to be the emergency response unit.
Yeah, because it could go to any of those. I was actually planning on. Go ahead.
Since the Acheron's ferry had been the ship that Marcellus Sale.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here. It's late for me.
All right, man.
Oh, later, Alterius.
Good night.
See ya.
Since it had been the ship that Sale had essentially been the XO of for so long, I was planning on, once the Fell Hand was fully operational and kitted out as we wished it to be, possibly rechristening some names around.
Of course.
For one thing, I'm pretty sure Acheron is in the title of the show.
Yes, the Tithes of Acheron is the name of the show.
So we would probably need to incorporate Acheron into the name of the rechristened Fell Hand. Maybe not Acheron's ferry, but something else with Acheron in it as well.
Acheron's shield or some silliness like that. Acheron's toll. Ooh, that's not bad. Actually, I like that one. The toll of Acheron. Anyway.
Or maybe Acheron's Tithes.
There we go.
Fine.
You know, that word right behind you in the background.
Yeah, the word that doesn't quite come through because for whatever reason, despite however I try to resize it, the aspect isn't right. Anyway.
What?
Don't worry about it. I know what I'm trying to say. The image, if you open the image that I'm using.
No, not tithes. Tides.
Oh,
Tides.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's a possibility as well.
Yep.
Before we end up spending the next 40 years on hyperbole. Yeah, listen, cacophony is definitely a word. I just said it wrong for many years of my life.
But no, I was planning on both ships being part of the home fleet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not a bad idea.
I would think you would want one of them to escort the currently fell hand.
Well, once the Fell Hand is finished, it will be the most powerful ship within our fleet.
It would
Of
be
course.
the most powerful ship in our fleet. We will crush this rebellion. Oh, sorry. We gotta get out of here. I'm rambling because I don't have any notes. I'm all over the fucking place. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please consider pushing all of the buttons if you did. The like, the subscribe, the share, etc., etc. Also, consider joining the Discord. If you're watching us live stream, you could type into the stream chat !Discord, which Darius looks like he's about to do to demonstrate how this works. Otherwise, you can look in the description for this video if you're watching on YouTube. There you will find the Discord invite link for our server. Meanwhile, that is it for us here tonight. Thanks for stopping by. Stay safe out there. This world is a crazy, grimdark world, so make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. And as for me and mine, we are out of here for the second week in a row, a little bit early, but sometimes it just bees that way. We'll see you next time, my friends. Have a good one. And nobody says goodbye. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.